Kokomi has just made an inconsequential deal. Earlier that night, she was alone, reading in her secret base, the calm silence, greatly improving her energy. She recalled on how tomorrow will be her birthday, so she heads to bed early, reminding herself to just do the remaining work tomorrow. Later, it is now midnight, and she's still not asleep. Soft whispers kept her awake all night, almost like it was calling her, telling her to go follow the source of the sound. Kokomi ignored it at first, but eventually decided to investigate, wanting to get some shut-eye. With a lamp in hand, she trailed the whispers, getting more suspicious with every step she took. The sound ended at an Orobashi statue that Kokomi felt had a very strong presence and power. She touches the statue out of curiosity, and suddenly, the atmosphere around her changes. It felt as if she was transported inside her inner consciousness, feeling light, tired, and dizzy. It took a while for her to notice, but eventually sees the god, Orobashi, slowly slithering to her. The serpent, with an amused tone, welcomes and congratulates her for being able to develop so well, and that now, she has finally reached the appropriate age for her to receive the serpent's blessing, the Death Note, a book that allows you to eliminate someone just by writing their name. However, the god's tone suddenly changes. She will only receive it if she agrees to help pursue its previous plan of taking control of Inazuma, and with the serpent god ruling over it. Since the god can no longer take on a physical form and can only be seen by her, Kokomi will have to lead their plan while the serpent guides her in spirit. She is perplexed by the entire situation, and the god leaves her alone, allowing her to think in peace. After a while, she now has an answer, and accepts to take the blessing, the Death Note, to help pursue her original god's plan. Orobashi is satisfied with her answer, and howls, making her surroundings collapse again. Kokomi then wakes up, inside her bedroom, covered in cold sweat. She looked around the room suspiciously, and spots the Death Note the serpent god was talking about. So it wasn't a dream after all, she thought, and cautiously opened the book, the first page having the rules on how it works. The last rule catches her attention. It's stating that the book doesn't work on divine beings, like Raiden, so she can't just eliminate her to gain control of Inazuma. She spends the entire afternoon formulating a plan for control, and luckily it was her birthday, so she gets a day off, although she still has papers from yesterday. With her strategic mind, she easily finished the draft of Plan A. To gain control, she would cause chaos all over Inazuma, using her book, until eventually the people would get tired of it. She would make it seem like all of the eliminations were the Electro Archon's doing, thus making the people turn on her, and that is when Kokomi will come in and announce she's Orobashi. If Raiden were to retaliate, she would use Miko, or someone else she has close relations with, like the Traveler, to go stop her. She does the first phase of her plan by writing down that Kami-Sato will produce havoc in Inazuma, and then after, get eliminated by Raiden's divine punishment. The plan worked extremely well, and she now thinks the rest will be a piece of cake. She proceeded to write down more influential people of Inazuma over the span of 3 days, and the entire city is now on the verge of collapsing. Before the priestess would eliminate them, she would make them spread misinformation about the shogun, creating distrust within the community. She plans to write down Sarah's name next, but the ghost of Orobashi appeared, the serpent bitterly announcing its new discoveries. Due to her young age, and its lack of power, her lifespan will be shortened, because of the blessing, making their leadership over the nation be short-lived. However, there is something they can do to prevent this terrible side effect. If Kokomi sacrifices some of her basic memories of people, more of the god's blood will be part of her, lengthening their life. Part of the things she'll forget will be who they are, what are their jobs, and importantly, their names. Absolutely everyone she knows, making it difficult to use the Death Note. She seems unfazed by its words, and easily accepts the deal, wanting to make her god's rule be eternal, and fearing they wouldn't be able to fix all the problems she caused with only a short time of ruling. In addition, she's confident in her abilities in getting everyone's name again. The serpent bites her hand, and its god blood started to flow through her. She ended up passing out in her bed. After the operation, with her body shaking rapidly and glowing bright. Meanwhile, Heizo and Miko were planning to do something to hopefully help stop and find this mysterious dangerous murderer. 10 minutes later, Kokomi abruptly awakens after hearing a loud sound coming from outside. Her head hurting and eyes still blurry, she hurriedly runs out and sees an hologram coming out of a teleport waypoint. It seemed to display a live video of a young man with dark brown hair, talking like he's going to make an important announcement. More people gather around the waypoint, and she starts feeling scared, not being able to recognize anyone there. Even she doesn't remember who herself is. The young man from the illusion then clears his throat. He announces that the citizens should not worry about the recent tragedies in Inazuma, as he will solve this case. He confidently says that he's an experienced detective from the Tenryou Commission, named Yuki Takuma, and there hasn't been a mystery he hasn't solved yet, and this one is no exception. The people gathered around the waypoint applause at the man, though they are unfamiliar on who he is. The priestess then remembers about her objective and sneakily left the crowd and hid behind a tree. Eliminating one of the greatest detectives would surely be beneficial. As she's riding down Yuki Takuma, some of her memories are coming back, remembering that there was a Tenryou detective that almost exposed her when she eliminated the commissioner. She grins as she finishes riding, watching intensely at the hologram from afar. 40 seconds have passed, and he has a heart attack. She grins as guards take him away. The camera then abruptly shows a different angle, showing a man with dark reddish hair, although the camera is blurred. He reveals that he's the real detective, and the man who got eliminated was just a wanted criminal. He taunts the murderer to go eliminate him, but nothing happens, like he expected. The detective concludes they need the person's name and face to eliminate them, warning to be careful, ending the broadcast. The priestess, frustrated, goes back to her room to continue Plan A, but the ghost of Orobashi appears, commanding her to go rest instead, as her body is still not used to her blood. On the other side of the nation, Heizo is thinking about his victory. The other people of Inazuma had noticed the suspiciously high rise of eliminations, and Heizo proposed to Miko to do that live broadcast to help lure out this weird murderer. Judging by how that person doesn't know his name, it's likely someone not from Inazuma. He orders the Shumatsu band to remove every sign, paper, book, anything else that has a person's name on it, to hopefully avoid the eliminations until they catch the murderer. He also made the Shogun announce to everyone that starting from now, you only call people by the first letter of their name, and it's forbidden to say a name out loud. It is now the next day, and Her Excellency is awoken by a young man that has features of a dog. The man apologizes for the sudden entrance, and says that he had to quickly notify her about the news announced last night. She doesn't remember who he is, but judging by how he addressed her and his clothes, he must be a general, and addresses him as such. She thanks him for the information, and requests to be left alone for now. This new rule had definitely made things more difficult, and she also didn't consider on how she still has to fit in, pretend she knows all these people. The only thing she recalls is her objective, the Death Note, what happened the last 3 days, and Orobashi. She takes a stroll around the Inazuma city to find someone to eliminate for the continuation of her plan. All the names had been erased, and people only refer to each other with letters. Surely no way she can identify someone's name without having to put some effort. A tall man with red horns catches her attention as he excitedly stomps to the plaza. He screams, "Era Takedo, the one and only, has finally won a match of beetle fighting after a 300 lose streak, while flaunting a small beetle. Well, that was easy." The group of kids he's with then starts shushing him, followed by someone with short black hair coming over to lecture the Oni. She recognizes her as one of her targets, but as for her name and job, she's clueless about, so she can't eliminate her right now. She then comes up with a great idea, and chooses to not write down Ito's name, and instead just observe the two interact. Later that afternoon, she has finished her business, and is now just waiting for her boat that will take her back to her island. She specifically requested for a bodyguard that has never been to the Inazuma city, and isn't knowledgeable about it. When he arrived with the boat, she gets blocked by a cow that someone strongly threw at her. Turning to see, it was from Ibo. Her guard points his weapon to the Oni, ready to protect her excellency, asking what was the attack for. To be continued. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe and like if you ended up enjoying this video. Bye.